Hello and welcome to another very special Kilson Street Election 2014 segment where we interview local people running for local office. Please remember to subscribe to Kilson Street and keep up to date on all the interviews and segments we have for this year's election. Today's guest is Valerie Amezcua. Thank you very much for joining us, Valerie.
Thank you for having me.
My very first question is, can you please tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I live here in Santa Ana and I have my whole life. I have a 22-year-old son who attends Santa Ana College. So being a mom is a critical thing for me. He went to Santa Ana High School. My family is from here, been here over almost 50 years. And I would say a little bit about myself is that I work for the Orange County Probation Department, and I also sit on numerous boards and volunteer in the community, Boys and Men of Color, Santa Ana Building Healthy Communities, Educational Group. I've been a commissioner in the city on the Early Prevention Intervention Commission, as well as the Human Relations Commission. I was the chairperson for that. So that's just a little bit about me.
Awesome. My next question, why are you running for SAUSD School Board?
Well, I ran before, and it's called tenacity, because I think it's really important, not only as a parent, but as a community member, to be able to provide our students, our classified, and our teachers, but especially the entire community, as good board members. Currently, there's 2 seats available, so you have an incumbent running, and then you have an open seat. And so I think it's important that you have board members that are going to sit there that know the community, that are from the community, and it's not about age, it's not about what's part of the city you live in, it's about what experience you have and what can you bring to the table. And so being the only candidate with a law enforcement or public safety background, I bring that to the table, and out of the 8 candidates on the ballot, there is nobody that can say that and who can talk about restorative justice and why it's important to implement it, to talk about what is needed in our community, why our kids are incarcerated from Santa Ana Unified at such a high rate. So there's a couple things that I bring to the table, and my background working in public safety, I'm comfortable making tough decisions, so I think that's needed as a school board member in any district, but especially here in Santa Ana.
Okay, awesome. My next question, do you have any political affiliations? Are you Democrat, Republican, Independent?
That's a good question. So I am a Democrat. I'm a registered Democrat. But Santa Ana Unified School Board, that seat is nonpartisan. So, and I know how to work well with others. I collaborate well throughout my entire career, and I was just raised that way. So working with, a declined state, or Republican, or Democrat, that's irrelevant to me. I think what's important is that we bring to the table what's best for our kids and our community.
Awesome. Do you currently own a business, or what is your current profession? I
don't own a business, but I work, as I had indicated, I work for the Orange County Probation Department. I started in 1986, and I worked my way up to a supervising probation officer. My expertise is in the area of gang intervention and prevention, collaborating with the community and other nonprofits, bringing in programs to assist our young men and our young women to keep them out of juvenile hall. So that is my area of expertise. I also work with the Boys and Men of Color. The Orange County Probation Department, in the 100 years of their existence, they have never had an Alternatives to Detention Initiative coordinator. I was the very first one. So I was able to bring Santa Ana community agencies to the table to work with the Orange County Probation Department to look at why are we incarcerating young men of color from Santa Ana, the 92701, 92703, and 92704 zip code, at a higher rate. So we started working on that, and I stayed in that position for a couple of years and was able to get that up and running, and then transfer to the AB 109, the Prison Realignment Program. So I bring that experience to the table, and I know how to bring the programs in and to work with the kids that are, I don't call them at risk, I call them at promise. It's very important that we keep our kids in school.
Awesome. I like that, the at promise.
All of our kids are at promise. I don't look at them as at risk.
Have you ever held public office before, or run for public office?
I ran for school board before. I'm currently a central committee member with the Orange County Democratic Party. I was on the ballot 3 years ago, so I got elected to that position. It's a 4-year term. I've been a city commissioner with the Human Relations Commission. I was the chairperson. Also with the Gang Intervention and Prevention Program that was created by Councilwoman Michelle Martinez. Early Prevention Intervention is what they called it, and that was to address gangs and youth at risk, again, at promise within our city.
How do you believe your current profession qualifies you for the SAUSD School Board?
Well, again, as I stated, being the only candidate on the ballot with a public safety background, I've seen both sides, So people talk about, well, there's poverty and, our parents are not English speaking. Those are global issues. You cannot fix those as a school board member. What my focus is, how do I improve our kids' reading ability? So for example, there's a new curriculum being piloted at Roosevelt and Kennedy, a reading curriculum, because as we know, by the 3rd grade, if our kids can't read properly, then they're going to continue to struggle. Yeah. So we're piloting the program, and I say we because I'm part of this community. So what I bring to the table is the fact that I have seen kids that have been placed into our system, our criminal justice system, and it always starts with truancy. And when I give presentations or I do trainings, I ask people, why do you think our kids are in juvenile hall? And they'll say, oh, murder, or they're gang members. And then they're shocked when I say, no, it actually started with truancy. They didn't go to school, so they became 601 offenders, and then now they become wards of the court, and then they end up in juvenile hall, and we don't let them go. And that school to prison pipeline is critical. So that is what I'm going to bring to the table, as well as public safety on campuses and community engagement. And it's not for me to say, well, you speak English, you speak Spanish, because we have a Vietnamese community as well in our city, and it's very important not to forget them as well. But I think what I bring to the table is that I collaborate well with others. I know my community. I know the needs of the schools. I work with the teachers. I work with the classified. I work with the students on a face-to-face, daily basis. So I have that experience that no other board member can, no other candidate running for the school board can say.
What do you believe are the most important issues for parents in the Santa Ana Unified School District?
Well, I think there's a couple really important issues. One is engagement, and again, as I stated, it needs to be done. If you're in the North End, it's how do you attract the North End parents? If you're in the South Coast, how do you attract those? If you're in the Vietnamese community, how do you attract those? Because we're all very different as parents, and so community engagement, parent involvement, with the understanding that not all parents can be involved. So it's okay that grandma comes, or that aunt comes, or their brother, or their sister. So community engagement to me is very critical. Public safety, we all want our kids to be safe. And so those are some key things. And then restorative justice, Santa Ana Unified is calling it restorative intervention. Part of the local control funding, $8 million was allocated for restorative, I call it restorative justice, they call it restorative intervention. So I would like to make sure there's an oversight committee to make sure that $8 million is used for restorative intervention. Keep our kids out of that system. And I harp on that because, again, if you look at the statistics and the data, it shows there are 3 zip codes in Santa Ana where our kids come from, and they're in juvenile hall. And when they get out, they end up in either they don't end up back in school, or that rotating door in and out of juvenile hall, or they end up in an alternative ed. I want them back in our schools. I want them in a traditional school setting. They have the ability to graduate. And I think we need to look at all of our kids and provide them with the needs that they have. Each one has a different, you can't look at kids as every shoe fits. As they say, every shoe fits you, right? No child is a cookie cutter. You can't put a square peg into a circle. So every child is different. And it's not the job of just teachers. It's the job of parents. It's the job of administrators. It's the job of a school board member to be equally involved, to know. You can't know everything, but there are certain things that if that's your passion, that's what you're going to work on, that you need to know and stay on top of.
Let's say you're elected to the Santa Ana Unified School Board. What issue will you tackle immediately?
The first issue I would tackle would be the local control funding and the LCAP, to make sure there's an oversight committee that is created that includes parents and that includes some nonprofits, and as well as Santa Ana Unified School District employees, so that that money is used properly. And so we do not look back and say, where did that $55 or $57 million go? Mm-hmm. What did we use it for? And part of LCAP is that we have to submit progress reports to the state and show them what we're doing. And so I want to create an oversight committee similar to Measure G, but a little deeper, more involved, that they're very hands-on and they get to see what's happening on a regular basis. So that would be one of the first things I'll tackle. The second thing I'll tell you just briefly is school safety. I think it's very important that my child, your family, or your children are safe when they go to school. And I'm not talking about police presence. I'm talking about training teachers, training classified, anti-bullying programs, keeping our kids, again, in school, engaged, and not dropping out or not being truant.
Awesome. What can parents expect from you as a Santa Ana Unified School Board member?
Well, everybody I meet in the community, I'm surprised I haven't received any crate calls. I'm just joking, actually. But I give out my business card, and it says, you know, it says my name, my email, and my personal cell phone number. And I am accessible. And if you come to a meeting or you're at an event, you'll see me there. And so I think it's very important that you are part of the community, because as a board member, you're representing your constituents, right? They want to see you. I'm always out in the community at different events. And not because I have to be and I don't get paid to do it, but that's because who I am and what I believe in. So as a board member, I'm going to be available to them. They're going to be able to see me. They all know where I live. They all have my phone number. I'm sure it'll be up everywhere. So I think that's important, because there's, you know, board members that you never see that have been sitting there 20 years and you never see them. The only time you see them is when they're running for re-election. Otherwise, you never see them. And I think that's very important. I want to see my elected officials in my community. If I voted for you and you're working for us technically, I want to see them in our community. So you will see me and they will see me. And I will be accessible.
For the viewers at home, what do you want them to know about you?
Well, what I'd like them to know is that for, again, almost 30 years, I've worked in public safety. I understand when our kids come to school at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're not ready to learn yet because they've experienced domestic violence, they've seen gang violence, they haven't eaten in 3 days. I get all that. I have empathy for that. Also, on the flip side of that is that I want us to work together as a community to help them learn, help them get to college, even though the many challenges that they may or may not have. They can still go to college. They can still go to Paul Mitchell School if they want to cut hair out. Us women, we pay a lot of money to get our hair done, right? So
guys too.
Yeah, guys do too, right? So maybe not everybody's going to go to college. I'd love it, but let's be honest. You know, we need carpenters, we need riffers, we need, you know, men and women who can cut our hair. And so I want to be able to give them those programs in our schools, and not just say, well, everybody's college bound, because not everybody is. It is important. I also want the voters to know that I am going to be accessible. That I've been around. So even though I've lost the previous race, I haven't gone away. And that's because my heart is still here and my commitment is to our kids. And as a Boys and Men of Color adult advocate, I continue to work in the community. And win or lose, I still will continue to be in our community. But I will close with this, that I would ask you to vote for me on November 4th, because I will be a school board member that will work hard for you. I will be available to you. And I expect you to hold me to what I say. If I do not do what I'm telling you that I'm going to do, I expect you to come to a board meeting and say, you promised to work with the community, or you were going to do this. Hold my feet to the fire, because I like that, because we all need to be accountable to somebody. And so, and again, I'm going to work very, very hard as a school board member, because I'm a parent. My family comes to school here. I have nieces and nephews and cousins and a large family that comes to this district, and friends, lots of friends growing up here. So I plan on being one of those board members that, again, is not afraid to make those hard decisions, because you have board members that'll stay quiet. Well, you know, like you talk about restorative justice, right? At risk, at promise kids, I call them at promise. That's a touchy subject. People don't like to talk about that. I'm going to talk about it, and we're going to address it. And so I think that's very important. So I would ask that you would vote on November 4th, Valerie Amezcua. Give it a shot, and hoping to win this time.
Anything else you'd like to add? Any last remarks?
No, other than thank you for the interview. I've sent out your site to all my Facebook friends, and so I'm hoping everybody takes a look at it. And I'm glad that you're doing this interview, because we have not had this before, and we need to tell our community in Santa Ana to please come out and vote, because we don't come out and vote. So it's critical that we remind them to come out and vote. So we have a voice. Let it be heard. It's very important. So thank you.
Thank you, Valerie, for your time.
Nice to meet you.
You did a great job. For the viewers at home, please remember to subscribe. I believe the subscribe button is right here in this corner. And stay tuned. We're going to have more segments leading up to election. And once again, my name is Enrique Abuels, and see you next time.